Dragon Emperor Sun Chapter 601 to Chapter 610. David didn't want to follow the two of them to get involved too much, so he said to Zhao Waoqi, Zhao Pavilion Master, since the leader's son is no longer in serious trouble, let's go. After David finished speaking, he turned around and wanted to leave. He had already done what he had to do, and it was useless to stay here. As for what the Chang reinforcements did to Yuan Baizhong and Zhou Zhaolong, he didn't care. Master Chen, stay, I don't know something, please enlighten me. Seeing that David was leaving, Yuan Baizhong hurriedly stepped forward to stop David and asked. What's the matter? David was slightly taken aback. Master Chen, since young Master Chang has been hit by a puppet bug, why does the other party have to wait more than a year to control young Master Chang's body? Does the other party have any intentions? Yuan Baizhong was very puzzled. Since the other party gave Chang Yuan a puppet bug more than a year ago, why did he not move for more than a year, but today he controlled Chang Yuan's body? After Yuan Baizhong finished speaking, everyone looked at David, and they all wanted to know what was going on, especially Chang Rijun, who wanted to know what the other party had on him. As I said at the beginning, the reason why Mr. Chang was in a coma was because his mind was damaged, not caused by poisoning. Although the puppet worm entered Mr. Chang's body, because Mr. Chang was frightened, his mind was damaged and unconscious. So the puppet worm had no way to control young Master Chang's body. Young Master Chang has been in a coma for more than a year. Fortunately, this is the case. Otherwise, you still don't know what the other party will do after he controls young Master Chang's body. But just now you did acupuncture for young Master Chang, trying to force out the venom from young Master Chang's body. But directly stimulated Mr. Chang's brain, allowing the puppet worm to take advantage of it and directly control Mr. Chang's body, which is why the scene just now appeared. David explained patiently. When he heard that he became like this because of himself, Yuan Baizhong's face instantly turned red, not to mention how embarrassing he was, he couldn't wait to find a seam to get in. Mr. Chen, who is that? Who is going to attack my son? Chang Rijun wanted to know now who dared to do something to his son. Didn't I already say it just now, this puppet worm is unique to Miao Village, and to be able to cultivate such a large puppet worm, the opponent's position in Miao Village must be not low, but I just don't know why the people of Miao Village do this. David said. Chang Rijun was silent, his eyes flashing with murderous intent, his brows furrowed tightly together. I know why, it must be that Miao Village wants to use this method to reduce the supervision of Miao Village. Because everyone in Miao Village is playing drugs, in order to avoid causing social panic, the management and control of Miao Village is very strict. It is difficult for the Miao Village to develop. They must be trying to achieve the intention of controlling the leadership through this method, so that they can relax the control of their Miao Village. They dare not directly attack the leadership, so they chose Chang Gongzi. Zhao Waoqi analyzed it. Chang Rijun nodded, yes, it should be because of this, because people from Miao Village have applied more than once to relax their control. However, David can't say anything about this kind of thing. After all, there are too many things involved and too many people. Wuji, I don't care what method you use to find the people in the Miao Village hiding in Kyoto, and dare to use such despicable means, I can't spare them. Chang Rijun ordered Zhao Waoqi angrily. Although he knew that the Miao Village did it, but there was no evidence, Chang Yuanjun couldn't do anything to the Miao Village. Now he has to find out the person who harmed his son. Yes. Zhao Wuji replied loudly, and he was very embarrassed soon, leader, I'm afraid that the people from the Miao Village will not be able to catch him. Zhao Waoqi's Kyoto Dharma Protector Pavilion was nothing but a few warriors. If he really wanted to meet someone with a high status in Miao Village, he was really not an opponent. He was afraid that the other party would throw a few poisonous insects, which would be enough for them. When Chang Yuanjun heard this, his brows were tightly knit together, and finally he set his eyes on David and Yuan Baizhong. Yuan Baishong saw Chang reinforcements look at him, and hurriedly said, "Leader Chang, Pavilion Master Zhao, there are still some urgent matters in my family, then we will leave, and we have to catch a plane to fly back to China and Hong Kong." Yuan Baishong was really afraid that the Chang reinforcements would keep him. If he was allowed to stay, Yuan Baishong would not refuse, but if he really wanted him to deal with the people from the Miao village, Yuan Baishong was also apprehensive, so he left in a hurry. Yuan Baishong said so, Chang Yuanjun didn't know what to say, so he could only nod his head. Seeing this, Yuan Baishong hurriedly took Zhou Zhaolong and walked out, looking at the backs of the two. Zhao Waoqi snorted coldly, "A cowardly thing like a mouse, it is a set of tricks, and he calls himself China and Hong Kong. What about the first master of magic, Ba? Wuji, you just kept saying that Yuan Baishong is a liar, what's going on?" Chang Rijun asked very strangely. Because he was eager to save his son just now, Chang Yuanjun didn't care about what kind of liar Master Zhao Waoqi called Yuan Baishong. Now that Yuan Baishong still said that, he couldn't help but ask curiously. Zhao Waoqi didn't hide it either, so he told Chang Yuanjun what happened at the auction one by one. After listening to it, Chang Yuanjun also looked incredulous. He didn't expect that Yuan Baishong and Zhou Zhaolong would dare to lie to the capital. Come. However, when he thought that he was still respectful to Yuan Baishong and invited him to his home, Chang Rijun's face was ugly. "Zhao Pavilion Master, Chang Leader, since the matter has been resolved, I should go back. Today I have to rush back to Horindal," David said. He has to hurry up and go back to practice. The day of July 15th is getting closer and closer. David has to practice hard, and Shen Dianshan gave him a divination before his death, so that David himself did not know about July 15th. What awaits him one day is a blessing or a curse. Seeing that David was about to leave, Chang Yuanjun's face showed anxiety, and he hurriedly winked at Zhao Waoqi. Zhao Waoqi said to David understandingly, "Mr. Chen, you just saw that the people from Miao village are already in the capital, and they have already attacked young Master Chang. As a demon, but with the power of our Dharma Protector Pavilion, it is difficult to find them, and I hope that Mr. Chen can stay in Kyoto for a few days to help us find the people from Miao village." David frowned slightly after hearing this. He just said that he wanted to leave, but he was afraid that Zhao Waoqi would ask for help from him. It's not that David was afraid of people from Miao village, but he didn't have time to waste here, so he had to hurry up and practice. Moreover, David also knew that these people from Miao village would not be poisonous, nor did they dare to do so. They just wanted to use the control of the puppet bugs to gain more benefits for Miao village. Dare not. Because of this, David didn't want to take care of it. After all, it was not life-threatening. As for other things, David didn't have so much thought about it. Seeing David's brows wrinkling, Chang Yuanjun also hurriedly said, "Mr. Chen, I hope you can help, otherwise these Miao village people are afraid that they will make waves in Kyoto, even if they don't dare to do anything to me next time. And it is inevitable that they will do something to other leaders. In such a huge capital, is there no one who can control these Miao villagers? If there are several warlocks burning, killing and looting in the capital at this time, can you just watch it?" David was a little confused. In such a large capital, no one can control the people in Miao village, and the Guardian Pavilion in Kyoto, which guards the safety of the capital, but they are all warriors. If there are a few powerful warlocks, aren't these people in the Dharma Protector Pavilion just a decoration? After David finished speaking, Chang Yuanjun and Zhao Waoqi were both stunned for a moment, and then their faces showed embarrassment. Finally, Zhao Waoqi said, "Mr. Chen, of course someone can control those people in Miao village, even if the strength is high. People of the law, if you dare to do anything wrong in Kyoto, someone can manage them, but these are not managed by my Law Protector Pavilion." "What do you mean, there is a law enforcement department above your law enforcement pavilion?" David was slightly surprised. Wrong, it's not the law enforcement department. These people are outside the law. No one can instruct them, and they are not under any control. Even all the people in our 6 stores are not qualified to order them. Chang Rijun shook his head and said. They? Who are they? Are they immortals? David's eyes flashed with excitement when he heard Chang Yuanjun's words. Chang Rijun was surprised when he saw David say the words cultivator. Leader Chang, Mr. Chen is an immortal cultivator, but his strength is still shallow. Zhao Waoqi explained along with Chang Yuanjun. Chang Yuanjun was even more surprised when he looked at David. After a while, he recovered and said with emotion, no wonder when Mr. Chen made a move, Master Yuan was no match, so you are an immortal cultivator. Leader Chang, those people you just mentioned, are they also immortal cultivators? David asked again. Chang Rijun shook his head, I don't know, even if I do, I can't tell you, because this is a secret. After David listened, his face suddenly showed loss. Mr. Chen, this is indeed a secret. Even I only know a little bit, and I don't know anything else at all, so we have no way to ask those people to take action, and ask Mr. Chen to help. David frowned, he really didn't want to help. Is Mr. Chen afraid of staying in Kyoto and attracting revenge from the Qin family? I can assure Mr. Chen that I can warn the Qin family that you will never do anything to Mr. Chen. Zhao Waoqi thought that David was afraid of the Qin family's revenge. Mr. Chen still has grievances with the Qin family. When Chang Rijun heard this, he asked suspiciously. Zhao Waoqi nodded, and recounted the grievances between David and the Qin family. After hearing this, Chang Yuanjun hurriedly said, don't worry, Mr. Chen, I can also come forward and help Mr. Chen speak. You have misunderstood. I didn't pay attention to a small Qin family. I just have other things to do. David is not afraid of the Qin family, but he wants to practice and has no time to delay. Mr. Chen, you can't underestimate the Qin family. Now I can suppress the Qin family and speak for Mr. Chen because the owner of the Qin family, Qin Xiaolin, has not yet left the customs. If he does, he will know that his son is being held by Mr. Chen. Kill, I'm afraid I won't give any face. Chang Reinforcements said hurriedly. The Qin family has so much energy. David was a little surprised. Chang Yuanjun is the leader of the 6 gates. If Zhao Waoqi sees someone who has to behave well, how could the Qin family dare not give Chang Yuanjun face? Chang Yuanjun sighed and did not speak, but Zhao Waoqi explained, Mr. Chen doesn't know, there is still power behind the Qin family, this Qin Xiaolin line is just a branch of the Qin family, the real Qin family. The family has huge forces in Kyoto and even the entire north, but these forces do not show up easily. Following Zhao Waoqi's explanation, David was a little surprised. He couldn't imagine that the Qin family he had seen was just a corner of the Qin family. Mr. Chen, what you have seen is actually just the surface. The water in the entire Kyoto is very deep, and the real powerful families are invisible to ordinary people, and they have not even heard of it. Chang Rijun said with a sigh. Listening to Chang Yuanjun's explanation, David felt more and more pressure. Originally, he thought he was a cultivator. Although he didn't dare to say that he was invincible, he still had no rivals. But now David knew that the so-called opponents he had encountered were just some small fish and shrimp, and he had never seen a truly powerful family. But David is not afraid. After all, he has nothing to do with those powerful families. As long as the other party does not trouble him, David will not take the initiative to provoke the other party. Is his mother still alive? Mr. Chen, you don't have to worry, these hidden families will not easily target a person, so the so-called giants who deal in Kyoto are the so-called giants on the bright side. Zhao Waoqi was afraid that David would be afraid and hurriedly said. Well. David nodded, and then continued, I do have some urgent matters, so I can't stay in Kyoto for a long time. Well, I can stay in Kyoto for 3 days and help you find those people in Miao village. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen shot, those people in Miao village will definitely not be able to escape. Hearing this, Zhao Waoqi said with a look of surprise. As a cultivator David, as long as he is willing to take action, those people from Miao village will not be able to escape. When Chang Rijun heard this, he hurriedly thanked, "Thank you, Mr. Chen." David smiled lightly, "Leader Chang, you're welcome, but if I can't find it within 3 days, I can only leave." "No problem, I'll definitely find it in 3 days, otherwise I'll be staying in the 6 doors in vain." Chang Yuanjun had a plan. He wanted to find someone in Kyoto, and it was not difficult. The reason why he left David was to find those people from Miao village and let David take action to keep them. After a few more conversations, David left with Zhao Waoqi while Sonia and Gu Wenchen were still waiting for David Bai at the Christie's auction, and everyone from the Bai family was there, and no one dared to leave. "Mr. Chen, how is it? Is Chang's son cured?" Seeing David coming back, Bai Ziashan hurriedly asked. If David really healed Chang Yuanjun's son, then David will be able to go smoothly after he is in Kyoto. After all, he is a leader in 6 doors, and many things are easy to handle. "Well, it's just mental damage, nothing major," David said lightly. David didn't say anything about the puppet bug. Even if he did, Bai Ziashan and the others didn't necessarily know about it. After all, they were only warriors and didn't know much about the things in warlocks. That Chang Yuan has been in a coma for more than a year, and he has searched for famous doctors and experts, but none of them are optimistic. How could there be no major incident? It must be Mr. Chen's medical skills, so he was cured as soon as he shot. Bai Zhantang said in surprise. Yes, it must be so, Mr. Chen is too modest." Bai Ziashan followed along. "Mr. Chen, are Yuan Baishong and Zhou Zhaolong not looking for trouble?" Gu Wenchen knew that these 2 people were also invited by the Chang reinforcement army, and if they met David together, it would definitely be unpleasant. Before David could speak, Zhao Waoqi said, "Those 2 big liars have already gone back to China and Hong Kong. They looked so embarrassed when they left, how can there be any kind of master style?" When everyone heard it, they all knew that Yuan Baishong's skills were not as good as others, and after being cleaned up by David, he left in despair. Bai Ziashan was more determined at this time, and the Bai family would follow David in the future, and David would follow his lead. "Mr. Chen, when will we return to Horindal?" Gu Wenchen asked. "Originally, I came here to see if I could find treasures, but now things have changed, so Gu Wenchen needs to ask David when to go back next. After all, they came in a car, and they need to listen to David's arrangement. Ancient, take Sonia and Linger back first, I'm going to stay in Kyoto for a few days to deal with some things." David didn't say what it was, he was afraid that Sonia would be worried. "What are you staying for?" "I'm staying too." As soon as Sonia heard it, she immediately asked to stay. "I'm staying too, just to accompany Sonia to visit Kyoto, there are many places of interest here." Gu Linger also expressed that he wanted to stay. "No, you have to go back, you have to leave today." David refused them to stay without hesitation. The reason why David refused was because Kyoto was no better than other places, especially after David knew about the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, he dared not let Sonia stay here. It's too late to regret it. Sonia looked unhappy at David's face, but she didn't dare to be petty and force her to stay. "I can tell you, you stay in Kyoto, don't mess with me, if you let me know, I can't spare you." Sonia pouted and said. "Don't worry, although Kyoto is a big city, you can't find a beautiful, gentle and virtuous woman like you." David smiled slightly. This sentence made Sonia blushed and muttered, "Humph, you must be saying something against your heart." Even so, Sonia's heart has long been happy. Gu Linger on the side watched David flirt with Sonia, with an indescribable feeling in her heart, she bit her lip tightly. Gu Wenchen looked at his granddaughter's expression and shook his head slightly with a sigh. How could he not understand Gu Linger's thoughts? However, David was not something in the pool. If he didn't mind having more confidants, Gu Wenchen wouldn't mind having Gu Linger by David's side. Gu Wenchen left with Sonia and Gu Linger. Bai Ziashan wanted to invite David to stay at Bai's house for a few days, but David didn't want to be too troublesome, so he didn't go, but asked Zhao Waoqi to find him a hotel. Mr. Chen, you are temporarily resting in the hotel. When I have news about those people in Miao village, I will inform Mr. Chen. To find those people in Miao village, David is not needed. After all, David is also unfamiliar in Kyoto, so Zhao Waoqi will do the job of finding people. It's about David's shot. Well, when you have news, call me anytime. David nodded. Zhao Waoqi left. David wanted to practice in the hotel for a while, but in a bustling city like Kyoto, the spiritual energy is even less, and it has reached the point where there seems to be nothing, so without resources, it is a waste of time. Seeing that it was getting dark outside, Bai Ziashan called David and wanted to invite David to have a meal together, but David also refused. Whether he eats or drinks, he won't feel hungry, and he doesn't want to go. David doesn't like the scene of being flattered by the stars. The neon lights on the road began to light up slowly, setting off the whole Kyoto very beautifully. David went downstairs and planned to take a walk on the road. At this moment, in the hall of Qin's house, although there was a table of food, no one moved the chopsticks. Qin Xiaoshan's face was gloomy, and the atmosphere in the hall was very depressed. Dad, isn't it just David? Since you know he's coming to Kyoto, why don't you just send someone to hack him to death and avenge my brother? On Qin Xiaoshan's side, a young man in his 20s asked. This person is Qin Xiaoshan's son Qin Gang, who is only a few months younger than Qin Feng. The two were born in the same year, but their fates are different. Qin Feng is the son of the patriarch Qin Xiaolin, so his status in the Qin family is higher than that of Qin Feng. Qin Gang has a lot of heights. Because of this, the Qin family gave Qin Feng a lot of training resources since he was a child, so that Qin Feng reached the realm of a grandmaster at a young age, and this Qin Gang is a playboy and is not jealous of Qin Feng's cultivation. Spending money to pick up girls, until now, I haven't even touched the doorway of a martial artist. Qin Xiaotian hated his unsatisfactory son so much that he wanted to kill him directly. Shut up for me, you know Sh.T. Qin Xiaotian roared at Qin Gang. Seeing that his father was angry, Qin Gang threw the chopsticks in his hand. I don't want to eat, I'm going out. Qin Gang got up and left, and probably went to the bar to play again. Nazai, UBA5TARD, if I didn't see you as my own, I would really want to slap you to death. Qin Xiaotian yelled, but Qin Gang didn't seem to hear it. As soon as Qin walked back, Qin Xiaotian looked at the table in front of him, but he had no appetite at all, and suddenly slapped it down with a palm. At this moment, the housekeeper of the Qin family hurried in, and after seeing the mess on the ground, he waved his hand, and the servants hurriedly cleaned up. Third Master, I have inquired clearly, that David has indeed healed the son of Leader Chang, and now Leader Chang is also respectful to this David. The housekeeper reports to Qin Xiaoshan Hui. When Qin Xiaotian heard this, his face became more and more ugly. Damn, this kid really has some tricks, and even the Chang reinforcements are flattered. It seems that in Kyoto, we can't do anything to him, we can only wait for the big brother to come out. I'm making plans. Third Master, this time I also inquired about another piece of news. After the housekeeper finished speaking, he leaned into Qin Xiaoshan's ear and whispered softly. Qin Xiaoshan's face changed, and finally he said with surprise, "Is what you said true?" "It is absolutely true, I found this from the mouth of the servant in Chang's family." The butler nodded affirmatively. "Ha ha ha, that's great, this way, we can use a knife to kill people. Qin Xiaotian laughed loudly, you go and contact the people in Miao village immediately, I want to meet them. Okay. The butler nodded and left. At this time, Qin Xiaotian was in a good mood, and his eyes flashed with brilliance. David, David, it's not good for you to offend someone, but you have offended people in Miao village. Now I want to see if you can leave Kyoto alive. On the other side, David was walking on the bustling streets of Kyoto. The streets were full of traffic. David was walking on the sidewalk, looking at the beautiful lights on both sides. But just as David was slowly walking forward, he suddenly felt a faint sense of consciousness approaching him. David's expression changed involuntarily, and his heart began to beat faster. There will be no other people who can use spiritual sense to probe, except for immortal cultivators. Even if they are powerful warlocks, they will not produce spiritual sense. David also gave birth to divine consciousness after entering the Bigu period, but David's divine consciousness is still a little weak. If David had not already given birth to divine consciousness, I am afraid that someone would not be able to detect him at all. David didn't dare to speak, and he didn't dare to make any extra moves, so he could only pretend that he didn't know anything and kept walking forward. David was both excited and nervous at the moment, because this was the first time he had met an immortal cultivator other than Irvin, but he didn't know whether the other party was an enemy or a friend, so why did he probe himself? He walked quietly into an alley. At this time, there were fewer and fewer people around, and the lights became dim. However, there were several hair salons with pink lights on both sides of the alley. Several scantily clad women are standing. Brother, come in for a party. At this time, a girl standing in the doorway of the hair salon, wearing revealing clothes, waved at David. Brother, come to me, my girl is young. The woman in the hair salon next to him also shouted at David. Many of the people who came here came to these hair salons, so when these women saw David walking in, they hurriedly greeted him warmly. David looked at the scene in front of him, slightly embarrassed. He came here, not for these, he just felt that there were few people here and the lights were dim, so he wanted to see who was probing him. However, David didn't dare to look back rashly, but walked towards a woman, who saw David walking towards her, and immediately greeted him with a smile. Brother, you are really insightful, I am the most beautiful in this piece. Come on, is that person behind you with you? If the two of you are together, then I'll have to pay more. In the words of the woman, David turned his head slightly and saw that a burly man was following him only a few meters away from him. After seeing that man, David's heart instantly set off a storm. He knew that he had met an expert today, because along the way, David just felt that someone was using his spiritual sense to probe himself, and that spiritual sense seemed to exist. He couldn't find out at all. This was only a few meters away from him. If that person played tricks on him from behind, he probably wouldn't have a chance to dodge, which made David nervous. We're not together. David shook his head at the woman. He still doesn't know what the man is trying to follow him, so David didn't directly follow the man to clarify. Aren't we together? The woman was stunned for a moment, but she quickly walked towards the man behind David with a smile on her face. Brother, you are here to play too, you must be fierce because you are so strong, I like it the most. Like you, how about I give Big Brother a discount for a while? It seems that this woman does not intend to let one go, and wants to pull David and this man into her hair salon. You shameless BA5TARD, are you planning to take all the business away? You're not letting others live? Are you trying to squeeze us away because you're young? You're not afraid of being killed. At this time, a slightly older woman came over and walked in front of the man cursing. Brother, don't look at how old I am, but I will, but the young ones like them can't, and I'm still cheap, just $50. The older woman said to the man, and kept leaning towards the man. But the man was like a piece of wood, unmoved at all, his eyes just stared at David, and he didn't even look directly at the two women. Brother, I'll be in my 50s. The young woman did not show weakness, and moved towards the man. I don't like this, you go back immediately, turn off the lights and sleep. The man said expressionlessly. But who knows, after the man finished speaking, the two men and women were stunned for a moment, and then they wanted to be manipulated by others. They looked straight ahead and nodded dumbly, yes. The two women left, all went back to their hair salon, and then really turned off the lights. As the lights went out, the alley became darker again. David frowned slightly, and a dignified expression flashed across his face. He didn't see the man cast any spells or read any spells, but these two women seemed to be obsessed and obeyed the man's words. David thought he couldn't do it. If the man starts to attack David at this moment, David knows that he has no chance of winning, and he is afraid that he will not even have a chance to fight back. Why are you following me? David finally asked a question. The man's expressionless face, after David asked the question, finally showed a sneer. You can find that I have been following you, this is beyond my expectations, I didn't expect that you have stepped into the realm of Anidia. Now you, in front of those so-called warriors, they are invincible. The man did not answer David's words, but directly stated David's realm. This time, David was even more convinced that the man in front of him was also a cultivator like him, but he felt that the man in front of him was hostile to him. Who are you? If you can use your spiritual sense to investigate, at least you are in the bigger realm, but you just said a word and let the two women leave like evil spirits. This strength must be higher than the bigger realm. Core formation? Or nascent soul? David looked at the man solemnly and asked. You don't have to guess. Anyway, my strength is beyond your reach. You follow me now, and I won't hurt you. The man looked at David disdainfully and said. Where? David asked. You don't have to know this, you will naturally understand when you get there. The man didn't want to tell David. If you don't tell me, I won't go with a stranger. David will not follow the man in front of him, even if he loses, David will not wait to die. This is not his character. Do you think you still have a choice? After the man finished speaking, the aura on his body suddenly spread out and directly enveloped David. Feeling the aura that suddenly shrouded, David shivered all over, and a huge spiritual force swarmed out from his body, resisting this aura. It's a pity that David's resistance was like a trickle encountering a flood of beasts. He was completely vulnerable and was defeated in an instant, and David's body couldn't bear the pressure. Spit out. Ha ha ha, the dignified young Master Long is nothing more than that, and he is still a prodigal son who likes women. The man laughed when he saw David like that. In the man's laughter, a strong wind like a sharp blade blew across David's body directly, causing wounds to appear on David's body, and blood flowed, but these wounds all avoided the key points. Fatal. It can be seen that the man did not want to kill David, otherwise David would have died long ago. Master Long? Do you know my background? David frowned. He didn't care about his injuries, but was interested in the man's words, Master Long. This person may know his life experience. David has always wanted to know who he is and who his biological mother is. Ever since he knew that he was picked up and cured, David has never given up on this idea. If you want to know your own background, then follow me obediently, so as not to suffer from flesh and blood again. The man put away his momentum, David felt the pressure on his body relieved, and another mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. Seeing that David was still spewing blood, the man shook his head, your body is too weak, I thought you could train to the Anidia period, and there is no problem with resisting my momentum, it turns out to be a soft-hearted child, there is no problem at all. Tempering the body, fortunately I only used 1/3 of my strength, otherwise, if you die, how can I get the reward? The man's eyes were full of disdain, and David's strength was worthless in his eyes. David was directly called stupid by the man. He didn't know what body quenching was. Although he had been cultivating constantly, looking for resources everywhere for cultivation. No one ever told him what body quenching was. Even Irvin didn't teach him. You just said that you would use me to receive the reward. Could it be that the Qin family invited you here? David looked at the man in front of him. If the Qin family could hire such a master, David really couldn't underestimate the Qin family, and if he fell into the hands of the Qin family, he would not have good fruit at all. Qin family? Which Qin family? The man was also stunned, obviously not knowing what the Qin family David was talking about. It's the Qin family in Kyoto. The owner of the family seems to be called Qin Xiaolin. Didn't they invite you here? After all, David didn't have any enemies in Kyoto, so he had enemies with the Qin family. Cut. The man curled his lips in disdain. The Qin family is a piece of sh.t. When they see Lao Tzu, they have to kneel and kowtow to greet him. Can you please touch me? Then why did you arrest me? Who asked you to come? David wanted to know who was going to arrest him. Don't fkook mother-in-law, you'll know when you get there. If you don't want to suffer, just follow me quickly. The man lost his patience and didn't want to chat with David. I won't go with you. David shook his head. Because he knew that men would not kill him, so David had a bottom line, he had to fight hard and couldn't follow the man. Seeing David's refusal, the man's face became a little angry, and he reached out and grabbed David. Boy, follow me, I can't help you. The man's speed was so fast that David couldn't react at all. But at this moment, a figure suddenly stood in front of David, and the speed was so fast that David didn't know when the person in front of him appeared, as if he had always been in front of him. Bang! After a dull loud noise, the man who grabbed David stepped back 3 steps, one hand trembling slightly. And at this time, David could see clearly that he was standing in front of him, and the one who saved him was a middle-aged man with a medium build. Compared with the burly man in front of him, he looked a little thin, but he was such a person. With a shot, he repelled the burly man in front of him. Man Niu, with your virtue, do you dare to get involved in the affairs of the Long family? The middle-aged man standing in front of David asked the burly man with disdain in his tone. This bull was ridiculed so disdainfully by the people in front of him, but he didn't even get angry at all. Instead he grinned and showed his big white teeth. Long Wu, I'm just joking, don't be angry. The matter of your Long family, where do I dare to get involved? I'll go now. David looked at the strength of this bull, and he was disdainful of himself just now, but after facing this middle-aged man named Long Wu, he completely changed his attitude, just like his grandson. But just when Maniu turned around and was about to leave, David didn't notice how the Dragon Wu was moving in front of him, and even blocked the Maniu's way. Maniu was stunned for a moment. Long Wu, I said it all, it's just a joke, can't I just leave now? Do you think you can still go? Long Wu's eyes had killing intent. When Maniu saw this, the smile on his face disappeared, and he stared at Long Wu in front of him. Suddenly, Maniu took action, and the momentum that erupted from his body was like a knife, attacking Long Wu with incomparable sharpness, and at the same time the momentum also moved towards David. David had no way to dodge against the sword-like momentum, because he found that no matter where he dodged, he couldn't avoid this terrifying momentum. Stand, don't move. Suddenly, Long Wu's voice sounded in David's ear. Immediately afterwards, David heard a tinkling sound, and those sword-like momentum suddenly hit David's body, as if hitting on steel, and they were bounced off one after another, but David found that there was no one beside him. There is no spiritual power fluctuation, that is to say, there is no protective cover formed by spiritual power at all, but how is this terrifying momentum blocked? David was very puzzled, but he also knew at this time that with his own strength, if he really stepped into the world of immortal cultivation, he was afraid that he would be inferior to even ants. He used to blame himself for the frog at the bottom of the well, and he still wanted to meet immortal cultivators. Now that I see it, it directly hit David with such a big blow. At this moment, after the arrogance erupted, the bull did not fight at all, but jumped up, reaching a height of dozens of meters, trying to escape between the buildings. Where did Long Wu let him escape? His body also jumped up and punched the bull directly on the shoulder. The bull's huge body quickly fell from the sky, smashed to the ground, and smashed the ground. Get out of a hole! From such a high distance, if it is an ordinary person, I am afraid that I will fall into flesh. Stood up after a roll and was not injured. Long Wu, do you have to kill me? I can pretend that I didn't see anything and leave the capital forever. Manitou looked at Long Wu in horror and said. Do you absolutely believe me? Long Wu sneered, and then his body rushed towards the bull. Manitou was startled, he stretched out his hand to block, but before he had time, he heard a dull loud noise, and Manitou's huge body fell straight down. David looked closely and found that the bull's face had a thumb-sized blood hole, and the blood was still flowing out. Looking at the dead bull, David didn't know why there was a sudden burst of sadness. It was not easy to cultivate the strength of the bull, but he didn't expect to die so easily. After killing the bull, Long Wu looked at David slowly as if he was killing a chicken, and said, Are you all right? David shook his head, It's okay, you can't die. Who are you? Why do you want to save me? Who am I? David knew that the Dragon 5 in front of him must know his life experience, otherwise he would not save him, and then he thought of what the bully said just now that he is the young master of Dragon, and the middle-aged man in front of him is also called Dragon 5, this is definitely not the case. Coincide. Some things, the later you know, the better for you. Long Wu didn't answer David, but took out a medicinal pill from his body, take the medicinal pill back and take it, and don't come out at will in the future. When you are done, leave the capital immediately. David took the pill, but continued to ask Long Wu unwillingly, I beg you, tell me, who am I? Am I from the Long family? Do you know who my mother is? When David talked about his mother, it was obvious that Long Wu's face was slightly moved, but he recovered quickly and looked at David coldly, Don't ask, wait until July 15th, you will understand everything. David was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Long Wu also knew what he had agreed with Irvin, and then he said excitedly, You know Irvin, right? Otherwise, how would you know about my agreement with him? David grabbed Long Wu's shoulder excitedly. At this moment, David suddenly felt that he met Irvin in prison, and Irvin taught himself the way of immortality, not by accident, but by old Irvin deliberately.